We are going. Hello, everybody. Rachel Jensen here with ECI Development. I am very, very excited to share with you these two property opportunities in Panama. One of them you may have heard about before from previous conversations and from previous emails you may have received. But the other one is a brand new opportunity that we are going to be launching on this line today. This is going to be a soft launch. I see that we have a handful of shareholders who are online, which is very exciting to see as well. You know that you get first right of selection. So we are going to go through the presentation, and then what you're going to do, if you have any questions throughout the session, what you'll do is type it into the Q&A section of your toolbar, control panel, whatever we want to call it, and we will get those answered for you at the end. So again, really excited to have you here. Thank you so much. Exciting to see your interest in Panama. This is one of my favorite countries in the region, and I'm very excited to share with you these new opportunities. So to get started, my name is Rachel Jensen. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for ECI Development. And Panama, although it's not where I currently reside, it is a place where I do feel comfortable. I do feel at home. Many of you know that I do live in Belize, but acquired my residency in Panama about 5 years ago through a TEAC program that we have. TEAC, ownership of TEAC, was able to get my residency through that program. And maybe at some point Panama would be a place that I just had to call home, but in the meantime, we do visit it quite a bit. And I do really want to share with you what we are doing in this country. Many names on here I recognize as folks who are interested. You want to learn more. Maybe you've been down to Panama. Maybe you haven't been down to Panama. And I think that we'll be able to accomplish that for you. But like I said, Panama, although it's not where I live, it is a place I feel very comfortable. It is a place that does feel like home. And I think a lot of that comes down to the people and the places you can explore there. And there's just such a wide variety that I came from New York originally, just about 30 minutes north of Manhattan, and having that sort of variety and things to do and hopping in the car and checking out the different areas of the country really made me feel comfortable. And with us today, I have my co-host, Joe Nagel. Joe is a property consultant for us at ECI Development. And when I was talking to Joe a little bit earlier, I said, all right, Joe, send me a few pictures that you took in Panama or that you really like in Panama. He's like, well, I'm usually the one taking the pictures. So he sent me a picture that he took while he was there in the city recently. And Joe, why don't you give us a little bit more information about you, and then we'll get started.
Well, hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining. And Rachel, thanks for having me on. Like you can see there, I am a property consultant for ECI Development, and I've always liked traveling. My family's always been one to, travel all over the world. And so when I graduated college, last year, I was looking for opportunities, and, I wasn't really one to want to sit down in an office and work 9 to 5. So I really wanted some unique opportunity. And, ECI Development, I've had that opportunity. I've been living in Belize since January. Fortunately, the virus has kind of changed those plans. I'm actually back in the States today, but looking to go back down to Belize in October, because like I said, I like traveling a lot. And so I'm in Belize, but Panama is another place, like Rachel mentioned. There's a lot of good things about the country. And, for me, I really like how much it offers in terms of, diversity. You have the city there with the skyscrapers, but you also have, the little beach towns where there's a lot of fishermen and stuff like that. So I think it's a really unique country from that aspect. And we'll be talking about that more. So.
Fantastic. So what we're going to be doing over the next hour, first, we're going to go through why Panama is such a popular place. I know we did a very comprehensive 101 session on why Panama previously, so we're going to cover just the highlights in number one there. Number two, we're going to go through specific property opportunities at Los Islotes, and then also do the debut of Freedom Village. Very excited about that. And then number three, we have a special gift for you that will be at the end of the presentation. Now, as we're going through the details here, there's probably going to be more information that you want to see or more information that you want to request. What I'm going to do, I know many of you have pen and paper handy, write down this email address, info@ecidevelopment.com. And if there's anything that maybe you're not jotting down in the Q&A section, or maybe you want a specific document or specific material, just email us directly to info@ecidevelopment.com. That comes directly to me, also our sales and marketing manager, Ivan Levy, who's also on the line with us. And so we'll make sure that you get those specific details that you're requesting. Also, Ivan, I know that you're there in the background, but Ivan is going to be helping us with the back-end IT things. If you're jotting down any questions during the presentation, he may be the one answering those for you. But just as a heads up, Ivan, thank you for all that you're doing behind the scenes as well. So quickly recap there, jot down info@ecidevelopment.com, and that will be the primary email address that you are sending your request to. So many of you know us as regional developers within Latin America. We have properties all throughout the region: Belize, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Panama. Obviously, we're going to be focusing on Panama today. If you want any information about our previous the countries that we've talked about previously, the Belize, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, let us know and we can get you those 101 sessions or the country handbooks. That's where that email address, info@ECI Development, comes in handy. If you want any of those other resources, do let us know. We've done 101 webinars for all of the countries so far, so that'll give you good insight as to a little bit more about the country, why people are going there, why people are buying real estate, et cetera, et cetera. But today we are focusing in on Panama. And although we only have Los Islotes there on the screen, we are going to be debuting, and this is kind of the official soft launch of Freedom Village, which will be integrating into our marketing information soon, but at least wanted to get the information out to you first. Now, with that being said, we do have another special guest online with us, Mike Cobb. Mike Cobb is the CEO and co-founder of ECI Development. We are a company that's been working in the region for over 20 years at this point. And what Mike has seen in the region, and he really is a visionary for this, is seeing a huge potential, huge opportunity to serve consumers with the products that they're looking for. That is one of the primary reasons that we are in multiple countries and continuing to look at other countries, including Argentina or Chile and Ecuador, to be able to have this robust portfolio for our clients who are looking at properties in different locations. I live in Belize. I know Joe lives in Belize. You know, I guess we're more beach people, Caribbean beach people, but not everybody is a Caribbean beach kind of person. So we understand that, and being able to offer geographic choice to our consumers is very, very important. Mike, if you haven't had the chance to meet with him yet, he's a very exciting guy, always has something exciting going on. So Mike, thank you for taking the time to join us for this webinar today. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about ECI Development, why ECI Development decided to look at Panama and invest in Panama, and then also the two projects that were, you don't have to get into too much detail, but at least a general overview of the two projects and why you saw the potential in them.
Certainly. Thank you, Rachel, for putting this together. And Joe and Ivan, I know you had a big part in pulling this presentation together. And I appreciate the opportunity to just say hi to folks. We've got an incredible turnout. This is definitely one of our more popular countries. Obviously, the two of you live in Belize, and I lived in Nicaragua for 14 years as an expat there and raised my family. It's a wonderful experience. And what you said is so true, Rachel, that we understand as a company that there are different strokes for different folks. And for you all, you and Joe, you really enjoy living in Belize. It's the Caribbean beach. I like the Pacific coast of Nicaragua. I like that Pacific Ocean. I like even a less developed country than, say, Belize, Costa Rica, or Panama. But I understand, and we as an organization understand that people want different things, and what is right for me is maybe not right for you or right for somebody else. And so what we're seeing and what we've seen is this incredible demand for product in Panama. And as we developed our company, first starting in Belize, then Nicaragua, then Costa Rica, what we saw was a real desire on the part of a lot of consumers to own a property in Panama. And Leif Simon and Kathy Petticord, I've known them for many years, Kathy for almost 25 years, and Leif for maybe about 15 now. When they started developing the Los Islotes project, we understood that this would be a phenomenal product for the consumer marketplace for a couple reasons. One, it's in Panama. Two, it's a beautiful piece of property on the coast. And three, the single most important reason is this: it's all about the delivery of something, the promise to the person who's interested. And if you're on this webinar, and I saw that there are a lot of shareholders, ECI shareholders on here, and I welcome you and I thank you for joining us. But there are a lot of folks who are probably looking at Panama not so much as a shareholder interest in what the company is doing, but as a place to live. And ultimately, when you make a decision to own a home somewhere, you want that home to actually come into reality. You want to take title to your home. You want to furnish it. You want to go and enjoy it. And we as a company have the highest regard for Leif and Kathy and their ability to actually deliver the product that is promised to you, a customer. And it gave us very, very good comfort in wanting to deal with them. And we joint ventured with Leif and Kathy. We're a small owner in the Los Islotes project, primarily so that we could offer it to the folks that we meet and we communicate with at conferences all over North and South America. And so that's really why we picked up Los Islotes. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, it's Panama, but ultimately it had to do with the relationship that we have with Leif and Kathy and their development ability and ability to deliver on the promise. The other property that we just acquired is very different. In fact, it will be the first property that ECI has that's off the beach. We have two properties on the Caribbean, Belize and Costa Rica. We have our property in Nicaragua, which is on the Pacific Ocean, and then obviously Los Islotes on the Pacific Ocean there in Panama. The new property that we acquired is very exciting because it's the first property in the Highlands. This is a property that sits at about 3,500 feet above sea level. It's what we call springtime all the time. It's maybe 65, 70 at night, 80, 85 in the day, every day of the year. It's just springtime all the time. It's a tremendous climate. And it's about halfway between the town or the city of David and the town of Boquete on the road as you come up the mountain. So Rachel is going to talk a little bit more about that. One of the things that we did with this acquisition was we really inherited quite a lot of infrastructure. The roads are already in, the electrical infrastructure is there, the conduits, the water systems, all of that is ready to be plugged in and turned on. And so what this was for us was the ability to step into a project and immediately, within a few months, 6 months, 9 months, begin to develop this product and deliver it to the marketplace. The other piece that was critically important was that the previous development group, but the lead developer is really a tremendous fellow and had a great vision for what this property could be. It could be a property that would really hold true to a philosophy of freedom. And so we've picked that up. We've designed this with a concept of Freedom Village, a place where people can come and enjoy the company of like-minded individuals in a beautiful climate in a wonderful country. And so again, this idea of community is so important when you're actually picking up and moving from somewhere else to come and enjoy a new location. So we're really happy about this. Rachel's got some details. I think Joe does as well. And I'm going to turn it back over to you now, but thanks for having me on tonight.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Mike. I know that this is very, very exciting. It's a property. Acquiring something in the tropical highlands is something as a company that we've been looking at for a while. And I think that the location is really just stellar. And I think folks will agree to that as well. All right. So let's dig a little bit more into Panama. Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Panama?
Sure. So before we get into the properties, in case you're not aware of Panama as a country, you can see it located there in Central America. To the northwest, you got Costa Rica. So if you know where that is, and to the southeast, there's Colombia. It's a pretty large country compared to some of the other countries in Central America. Like Rachel said, I live in Belize, so it's much bigger than Belize. The population
everything is bigger than Belize.
Exactly. So the population there is just over 4 million. From a size perspective, it's a very thin and narrow country, but it is over 28,000 square miles. And one of the unique things, which is one thing I like about Belize, but it also holds, well, more so true in Panama, is that their currency is pegged to the US dollar. And I mean, they actually just use the US dollar. So if you're carrying cash, you don't have to worry about getting that changed at, some currency exchange place. So that's a really nice feature. They do have their own currency for coins. So, if you pay for something with a $10 bill, you might get, what they call a Panamanian Balboa back, but it is 1-to-1, so that makes it very easy, from that perspective. Okay. So a couple more reasons why Panama. We did cover this a lot more detail in our Panama 101 webinar. So, that email that Rachel gave, info@ECI Development. If you'd like, a copy of our Panama 101 webinar, please send us an email in the subject line. Just put Panama 101 webinar so you can get that in more detail. But we're just going to highlight a few of those here. The first one being is that Panama is very, very easy to get to. I don't know. Sorry about that.
Sorry, I think it's
yeah. So Panama is very easy to get to. They have a very large airport, and you can connect from a lot of different places. Here are some of the routes that you can get to. I'm from west or northeastern United States, so for me, it's I just connect through Houston, flying with United, so it's a very easy a place to get to. So that's a nice perspective. Another great reason why Panama is that there's a really strong economy. So if you're familiar with Panama, you might know that there's something called the Panama Canal. That's been a huge part of their GDP, since it's been built, and that's really good that they have a strong economy. To give you some perspective about how much that canal has contributed over the years, you can see in 2019 it was over $2.59 billion. So that's a huge part of their economy. They do have other things than just the canal as well, but doesn't seem to want to work. But you can see in the darkish blue, that's the contribution from the Panama Canal, but they have other things like agriculture and tourism, things like that. So pretty good diverse economy. They're not just solely relying on tourism like some countries in Central America do. So that's a really nice bonus. Another great reason for why to look into Panama is that they've got world-class health care. One thing I really want to point out is they have 2 JCI accredited hospitals, and that accreditation is an international accreditation, so they have the same standards that you can find all over. I think that's really a great thing, because some places in Central America might not even have 1 hospital with that accreditation. So to have 2, I think that's really good. So if you're trying to spend some more time in Panama as you retire, or if you're a digital nomad and want to spend your time there, that's not something you have to worry about, in Panama. Mm-hmm. Another great reason is the residency programs. So if you've talked with us about TEAC, you know that there's some residency programs in Panama, whether you're looking at the retiree visa or if you're still looking to work, the friendly nation visa is really attractive in that it's easy to get. And, it gives you that ability to live in country as long as you want. Just going over some more of those details. Next. Yeah, so, you don't need to reapply because it's a permanent status. So once you get it, all you to do maintain this is to visit 1 day every 6 years now, which I think most of us could probably handle taking a trip to Panama at least once every 6 years. So there's that. And, that also leads to citizenship. So, if your end goal is to get a passport or leave the US or whatever it is, there's that ability too. So, I know we covered that pretty fast, but like I said, we did cover that in more detail during our Panama 101 webinar. So if you'd like a copy of that, please send us an email at info@ECI Development, either the Panama 101 webinar, or if you're interested from more of a residency perspective, like I said, we also did that residency webinar not too long ago. So, let us know over email that you'd like a copy of those and we'll get those to you.
Yeah, fantastic, Joe, and thank you for that. And we could give a whole hour presentation on why Panama, which we've done before. And so we have that ready for you if you do want a copy of it. But as Joe mentioned, just email us there, info@ecidevelopment.com. And, I think that it is really important for those of you who are looking to live or invest in the country of Panama to understand more about it. We covered, the top 4 reasons why people are feeling comfortable with moving to Panama, but we do cover those a lot more in depth. And that's important to know as you are looking at investing or owning in the country. So what we're further going to talk about is ownership of real estate in Panama. For those of you who've been following us for some time, you have seen this real estate investment curve. I think usually I give it in the presentation of Belize, but today we're switching gears and we're going to be talking more specifically about Panama. And when you look at this emerging destination curve, what you see at the top part of the curve are countries in developed areas, and meaning developed areas, places that develop tourism. Pacific Costa Rica, for example, at the top part of the screen, they've been involved in the tourism market for 25, 30 years. Places that are at the top part of this curve tend to have a cash flow already being produced because it is in an area that is mature in tourism. As you go to the bottom part of the curve, you see places like Caribbean Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and these places are not as developed in terms of tourism. They're still experiencing more growth in that sector. But what you can expect if you are investing in these sort of countries, the bottom part of the curve, or these sort of regions, even within the bottom part of the curve, is appreciation. And, Nicaragua is one of those interesting places. We did a whole 101 session on that as well. But if you're looking for a little bit of both, it probably would be a little bit more below Belize than it currently is. Below Belize, maybe even in between Argentina. But there we've seen a tourism market that is definitely evolving really quite quickly because of the surf culture. But we're talking about Panama in this presentation, and Panama is at the top part of the curve. As Joe highlighted, it is very popular for many reasons, having that strong economy, being easy to get to. It makes it more favorable for people who are looking to invest in a country or live in a country, because you do have that easy access and you have this area that's a lot more mature. Now, even within Panama, there are subsectors. So looking at the chart here, you see Costa Rica, Pacific Costa Rica, Highlands, Caribbean. Panama could probably be broken down into different subsectors as well. I mean, Panama City, for example, Joe showed a picture of the skyline earlier. It is a very developed city. It's often referred to as the Miami of Latin America because it is so developed. It's very strong in the banking sector. There's a lot going on there economy-wise and in the economy. But then there are other parts of the country that may not be as popular or as well known as Panama City, for example. Boquete, that's the Highlands of Panama. That's definitely a part of the country that's up on the rise. Coronado, that's a beachfront location that has probably been in the tourism sector for about 10, 15 years at this point. But again, overall, the country, it may be a little bit pricier to get into because it has that development there already. But if you are looking for places that are going to cash flow, Panama generally is a great option for you. So we quickly talked about a couple of other places in Panama. Panama City, for example, if you can follow my cursor, this is really the hub of all business, hub of all banking and the economy. And then of course, the Panama Canal is right over there as well. And this is really where we're generating a lot of the money that's coming into the country, which is awesome. We like knowing that when we're investing into a country, they have the financial means, economic means to keep going. Now, we're not going to highlight all of these places today. In the Panama 101, we dug a little bit deeper into them, but what we're going to go through today is the Los Islotes property. And if you look at the bottom part of the screen, it's over there on the Israel Peninsula. And in addition to that, we're going to go through Freedom Village, which is, as Mike mentioned, in between David and Boquete, if you look on the left side of the screen. Now, we are not talking about teak. We did that presentation last week. If anybody's interested in learning more about our teak farms that we have there and pairing that up with residency, again, use that email address, info@ecidevelopment.com, and we'll send you the additional details about ownership within the teak farm. But today we're going to talk about real estate. So here are a couple of factors or tips that you should know as a foreigner who's looking to own property in Panama. Number one, and one of the most important, is that you can receive title to property in Panama as a foreigner. I think that that's something that's very important for a lot of us to understand and to know as we're looking in new countries as a foreigner. In addition to that, closing costs. So closing costs are 5%. That's a government titling fee, which is the fee that moves the title from our name to your name or whatnot, plus the attorney fees. In addition to that, and this is a question that I get asked quite a bit because of our teak farm, titles of your property cannot be in the name of a trust or self-directed IRA custodian. If that trust or if that self-directed IRA custodian has an LLC associated with it, you're able to use that LLC. There's an additional registration cost, but that would be the way to go about it if you are looking to own through a trust or a self-directed IRA custodian. Self-directed IRA for our American friends on the line. Capital tax in Panama is 10% of the realized gain. Income tax on rental revenue, if you're considering renting your property, there are different stages of what that tax would be. Right there, it ranges anywhere from 10 to 25%, depending on what your income is. And just note, you'll see that at the bottom bullet there that you can deduct a handful of expenses before you do have to pay taxes. So just realize that. It's a nice benefit there. They do have a mature system in that sense. But these are just some really good things to know or good points to highlight as you are looking at property overseas. Just a heads up, just a quick reminder, we are recording this presentation, so you don't need to go over there and write everything down quickly. We will make sure you have a copy of this so that you're able to reflect on it. But just a quick highlight, you do receive titles to your property. All of our properties that we work in, you as a foreigner would get title to that property. Closing costs are about 5% plus attorney fees. And then again, just really important to know in Panama that they do not recognize trust or self-directed IRA custodians as entities to hold title, but a company that's associated with both of those sort of structures can certainly do so. So with that, we're going to jump directly into the Los Islotes presentation. And Los Islotes, for me is a very special place. I was there a few years ago, and something that I really liked about it was the views. You have like 270-degree views of the water. You're in a peninsula, and it's very similar in a sense to Cabo or parts of California, where the properties are along a hill. So most of the properties there at Los Islotes, you do have water views. Some of them do not, but most of them do have direct water views. You're looking directly out on the Pacific, and you see these little islands, this little islet that is out there in front of you, which is really just such a spectacular place. So to highlight where it is in relation to Panama City. So as Joe mentioned, the country is long and thin, and Panama City is on the right part of the map over here. And Los Islotes is about a 5-hour drive to get to. It's right there on the Israel Peninsula. And what's really remarkable about this specific property is that there is direct beach access from the property itself. For a lot of the properties there in the Israel Peninsula, you have to hop in a car, you have to access the beach, maybe not through your property. Most of them don't have that direct beach access. So this is really one of the big parts that makes Los Islotes very unique. So what's around the property? So we did see that it's about 5.5 hours from Panama City. There are a couple of towns around. Mariato is one of the closest, about 26 miles away. And then there's Santiago. In Santiago, it's about 50 miles away. There is a little airstrip there, so you are able to accommodate private planes. So if you have a private plane, or perhaps a friend or family member that has one, you can fly directly there into Santiago. Now, Los Islotes in the area that it's within is really well known for the fishing and surfing. That peninsula there that's a big attraction for the peninsula there, is the surfing and the fishing. In addition to that, there are many national parks within the area. And when I'm thinking about Los Islotes and who Los Islotes would be right for, it's probably the folks who are looking to relocate or looking for a second home, and you like being within nature. You have an adventurous spirit. You like being around the environment and the birds and trees and junglescape and being so close to the national parks. In addition to that, there's the the whale and dolphin watching. And then in addition to that, it's a bird lover's paradise. So you'll see many different species of birds there. And because you really are within this wildlife area, you will find a tremendous amount of animals there within the region. So Los Islotes, it's a very beautiful property. Note that it is a fairly new property. It's a young development. At this point, there are 3 houses that are up and constructed. There is one that's currently under construction. A handful of the lots are currently owned. Houses aren't yet built yet, but it's really a place where people are building their estate homes. They're building a place to relocate to or spend time in their retirement. And you can just look from some of the pictures here. It really is a beautiful sort of location. The picture on the right-hand side with that swan floaty, that is the Founders Lodge over there. And you can see the beautiful sort of architecture and style that really has been captured within this home. This Spanish colonial, Italian colonial sort of architecture is going to be implemented throughout the homes as they continue to get built there at the Los Islotes property. So within Los Islotes, there are a couple of different villages, a handful of villages or neighborhoods, depending on what you're really looking for. Mango Village is the area where you don't have the beach views, but all of the other home lots and home sites you do have water views from, which I think is really quite remarkable to be able to have that sort of beautiful view from your home. You just walk out right there on the balcony, and then in the distance you have the Pacific waters. So here are just some more photos. There's another photo right under here. You can see right next to the green turquoise color. That is another home that has been constructed at Los Islotes. And you could just see it's a very beautiful sort of structure. And right behind it, so we have the front view, but right behind the house, they do have views of the Pacific water as well. And because of the topography there, what you have are these houses, like I mentioned, that are on the hills. You have these home sites where you're able to build your dream home overlooking the Pacific water. In total, there are 92 ocean view lots. And so you have your choice of what that looks like. In addition, the lots range in size from about a 1/4 acre close to an acre. And then they do range in price as well, just depending on what your ultimate goal is. And so like we were talking about a little bit before, is who is this property right for? I would say, retirees or people who are looking to be in a serene environment. You're surrounded by nature. It's very beautiful. And in addition to that, the forward thinkers. I understand a lot of the folks who are buying home lots in this specific community in Los Islotes are really people who are looking to build a legacy home, something for their families, put somewhere where their family can come visit them at least while they're in retirement. And you don't necessarily need to build this huge mansion. You do have options depending on what it is that you're looking for. But again, to recap about Los Islotes, what really makes this property unique is the fact that you do have access to the beaches directly there from the property. So you don't need to hop in a car, go outside of the community, and then find a beach. You are able to access it directly there. In addition to that, there is an area called Panama Jacks right there on the beach. It's a shaded palapa with a barbecue area. So you're able to invite your friends or have family members come down and visit you, and really have that third space right there on the beach for you and your friends to come together. But this is a new development. It is still in the infancy stages. If you are a forward thinker, if you're somebody who sees the potential, this would be a great option for you. And then the home lots, if you want the beach view, starts about 65,000, goes up to about 200,000. And then if you are looking for something maybe a little bit less than that, there are the Mango Village lots, which start at about 30,000, and then work up from there. And then you're able to build your dream home on that, which is always very exciting. And so a couple of considerations for you just to bear in mind. There is a homeowners association. The homeowners association is what keeps the property looking beautiful, the infrastructure looking great. And the HOA for non-developed home sites is $75 a month US and $150 a month for the developed home site. So once you build your home, then it will jump to $150 a month. In addition to that, there is developer financing available. It's 20% down, 0% interest over, and you have a 3-year term. So you'll pay equal installments over the 36-month period. And then I thought this was really neat. When I was chatting with Leaf and Kathy and Peg, the folks who are, as Mike mentioned, really the developers behind this project, I thought it was neat that the 3-year build period started from the time that your home site is paid off. So if you are planning to finance, you have that 3-year term. After that 3-year term, after your last payment is paid for the financing, then you have another 3 years to build your home. So just something to bear in mind, something as you're weighing your options and looking at the different properties. I've heard this is probably one of the most flexible systems that I've heard when it comes to building your home. But there's a tremendous amount of home plans. They just have a lot of different options. So if you are interested in that, just let us know, info@ecidevelopment.com. And in addition to that, when I was chatting with Leaf and Kathy, they mentioned that there's a special on an ocean view lot. It's usually about $105,000. In this case, it's $65,000, but we'll be happy to get those details to you. Unfortunately, I don't have any photos in the presentation of the lot, but be happy to get those to you if this is something that you'd be interested in. This is actually a resale. Unfortunately, the lady who inherited it doesn't have the means to build a home, so she is selling it. It's a resale. So $65,000 she mentioned would be a cash price. But if you're looking for a little bit more information, we can certainly get to those details. But I know that we do have people, and like we said, Mike said different strokes for different folks. We do understand everybody is looking for something different. And this is that beautiful landscape right there on the water with the Pacific views. And you could really just build a beautiful, beautiful place there. But if you want more information about this project, let us know, info@ecidevelopment.com, and we'll get those details to you. All right, so that's going to wrap up our Los Islotes section. And just as a recap, Los Islotes is located about 5.5 hours from Panama City in the Israel Peninsula. It's an area where you really can build your dream home over by the Pacific waters, beautiful for surfing and fishing, and really ideal for those who like being around nature and just being in a really serene, peaceful environment. So with that, we are going to jump into Freedom Village of the Tropical Highlands. As you may notice, my background matches the picture that you see there on the screen. That is in Boquete. And Mike and I, earlier this year we went to Boquete to scout out some properties. And really when we got to the property that Freedom Village is going to be on, we both just really fell in love with it. It's a beautiful environment. You have these creeks and streams and rivers running through the property, and the property's on a slight decline. So when you drive into the property and you look down, you have these incredible views of the mountains around you. You have an orchard that's already growing. It's just really, really spectacular. So we're really excited to be doing this soft launch with everybody today. Again, thank you to our shareholders who joined. I know that we mentioned this earlier in our shareholder meeting this year, and it's neat to for you to be able to see it really come to life. So here is a quick map. So on the right-hand side of the country, we have Panama City. On the left-hand side is the tropical Highlands environment that we are in. Where you see the red pin, that is the Freedom Village property that we're going to be talking about during the presentation. And as Mike mentioned, you'll see that it's about halfway between David and Boquete, and where that red pin is the specific location. And the two stars, the star on the bottom here represents David, and the star on the top represents Boquete. And how most folks tend to get from Panama City to this area over here is by flying. It takes about 45 minutes, not even, to go from Panama City to David. And then when you're there, most people tend to rent a car. The roads are phenomenal. It's very easy to get around, but you're able to pick up a car right there at the David International Airport, and then from there be on your merry way. So Boquete is the area right here in the top star. Boquete is the area that really has become an expat and tourism haven. A lot of that is because it's so beautiful, that ideal climate that Mike mentioned as well. Whereas David is really more of a more local, it's like a local city. It's also the capital of Chiriquí, which is the province, but we're going to get into those specifics in just a moment. So just honing in a little bit closer on where the property is located, we have David here at the bottom part of the screen, and then Boquete not as highlighted, but you'll see it there on the top part of the screen with Freedom Village right here in between. So a quick overview of what's around the area. So Boquete's population is about 20,000 people, but we do have a large number of expats within this area, about 3,000 plus. And the big reason why people are coming to Boquete is because it has a really, really nice climate. And, you know, there are days when I'm sitting there in Belize and it can get a little warm, or, you know, I'm from New York, so anything more than like 70 degrees is warm for me. But I'm sitting there in Belize and looking at the pictures of when we were in Boquete, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just, the temperature there is perfect. Mike explained it as a tropical highlands or eternal springtime sort of climate. And it really just is spectacular. And when I'm in Panama, I tend to spend a lot of time in Panama City for business and work and meetings and whatnot. And Panama City can get a little humid. So when you come out to this part of the country, it is just so refreshing. It just feels like you are in a totally different country because the environment is so completely different than Panama City. So if you haven't had the chance to go out to Boquete, I absolutely recommend it. And then of course, with Freedom Village being out there, it gives you a good reason to come by as well. But this is an area that's quickly expanding as an expat and tourism destination. It's also very well known for, it's a coffee growing region, and also where a lot of flowers are grown. It's all really good coffee if you go down there and you are a coffee drinker, but that's where you'll find a lot of the coffee being grown. And then, like we said, the flowers. There's National Flower Expo as well, which is really quite neat if you are into flowers and would like to be surrounded by flowers. Of course, we talked about the ideal climate. And then what's also nice about Boquete is it is an established town. So there are restaurants there, nightlife, cafes, you know, things for you to do if you are looking to spend a night out or check out areas that are around Boquete. And then there are a lot of natural wonders. And this is a big reason why a lot of people come to this part of the country, especially if you're an outdoorsy sort of person. There's the Baru volcano, which is really, really beautiful. You can go to the top of it. And if you go early enough in the morning, I think you have to leave pretty early, around 2 or 3 in the morning, but it gives you that chance to hike to the top. You can see the sunrise coming up. On one side, you have the Atlantic, the other side, you have the Pacific, and it's just a really beautiful sort of environment. And for those people who are outdoorsy, do like hiking, do like being in that sort of climate, there's a lot for you to do there. There's waterfalls and hiking trails, and just a lot really within Boquete to check out. Now, David is the other town that it's in between. So in between David and in between Boquete. And David is the population of about 163,000. It really is primarily locals. There's a very robust sort of economy there. In addition to that, it is the capital of the Chiriquí province. And there's the international airport that we talked about before that is located in David. And so the flights right now just go between Panama and Costa Rica, but that's awesome because Panama, or in Costa Rica, it goes directly to San Jose. And then from San Jose, there are tons of other routes you can take. It also goes back to Panama City. So there are options there, and it's also very convenient to have that airport very close. And because David has a large population, there is an economy there. It has the sort of facilities that I think a lot of us are looking for when we're looking to relocate. So you have those large shopping centers and the malls if you want to have those sort of conveniences close to you. There are great clinics and hospitals as well. As Joe mentioned, Panama, and specifically within Panama City, you have those 2 JCI accredited hospitals. So within the country of Panama, there's really, really great healthcare around you. And that's very important, especially if you are planning to live in the country for longer periods of time or for however long. All right, so now we're going to jump into Freedom Village. And as I mentioned, it was really exciting when we went to the property, and Mike talked about the infrastructure being into the roads are in and the utilities, and that's very important. That's easy enough for us because then what we can do is be able to offer homes for you to be delivered sooner rather than later. Now, there's a lot going on the screen here. So can you see my cursor? Just type yes or no into the Q&A. If you can see my cursor, I'm right over by number 1. Let's see. Okay, perfect. Thank you for responding. All right, so number 1, this is the entry gate. So this is where you're coming down the road, you'll turn here into the property. As you turn into the property on your left-hand side, this is where you have an artisan market. There will also be orchards and gardens there as well. If you decide to make that right as you're coming into the property, what you're going to do is come into the area that's been allocated for condominiums. So this could be condos that you can live in or condos that you can rent out. But that's what these structures 9, 8, 7, 10, 11 represent. In addition to that, a lake that you'll see right over here, number 14 is the restaurant and pool area. Number 12, and we're going to jump across to number 19 as well. That is the yoga facilities. So as Mike and I were entering this property, what we really realized, it's just a phenomenal piece of land. You're looking, as we said, the slight decline. You're on a slight slope as you're standing at the top, and that's what this area is here. It's the top part of the property, and you look down, you are able to have this really expansive view of the property. You look all around, you have mountain views, it's incredible. In addition to that, there are the creeks and the rivers running through the property. And number 23, this is Rio David, and you have that river right there close by. And so when we were going through this, we really thought that it would be an ideal property for people who wanted to be around other like-minded individuals, liked being amongst nature, liked being self-sufficient. So you have the gardens, you have the orchards, you have the yoga platforms if you are into wellness and health. You have the pool, and you have the lake right there, or the river if you want to go swimming. And it really is just this really unique environment, especially for Panama. And Boquete, it's a great place. It's getting a lot more expensive. And so to be able to provide options for people that were close by, but not necessarily at Boquete prices, I think is something that was really exciting. In addition, on this property, we'll have the hiking trails. There's an orchard already there. Orange is growing from it. But what we'll be doing is building tiny homes. In addition to that, there will be condominiums, and then there will be single family home lots. I know some of you are looking for land and you're looking to build your home there, or you're looking for something a little bit larger than a condominium or tiny home. We understand that, so we will be launching those over the next couple of months as well. But I know there are many of you who have expressed interest in learning more about this project and the opportunities, so we at least wanted to get you the information as it's becoming available to us. So in total, Freedom Village is about 110 acres. This is just a fraction of Freedom Village that we will be developing. It's all pre-construction at this point, but we did mention the utilities are in, the road is in, the infrastructure is in. So it makes it very quick to be able to start the building process and to deliver your home to you. So here are some initial photos from the property. Rio David is just a really beautiful, serene sort of environment. We have the orchards that are already in. So you'll see the oranges that are growing. When Mike and I, we were there in January, and it was a very good season for the oranges. We'd hold on to a couple as we're walking around the property and pop them in the snacks. It's neat to see that that's already there. And you can see a little bit in the distance here. We'll get you some more photos if you're interested. But you're able to see this beautiful landscape of mountains and volcanoes around, because you do have this slight slope there on the property. So I know there's been a lot of excitement and talk about tiny homes, especially within ECI development. We've launched AVA, which are the Pacific Front tiny homes in Nicaragua. In addition to that, we launched the tiny homes in Belize, the over-the-water bungalows. Joe, and of course, building in Panama, we wanted to bring this concept of tiny homes and be able to deliver a product for folks who are looking for a tiny home sort of setting in an environment, in a setting like this. So Joe, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about tiny homes and why tiny homes are so popular?
Yeah, sure. I've listed a few here just so people can get a sense. But I think, first and foremost, one of the great reasons of the tiny homes is you're really reducing your carbon footprint. I think depending on what your stance is on the world, I think that regardless, it is helpful to always be, reducing your carbon footprint. So with a tiny home, you're not having AC or heat or all these appliances for 1,000 to 3,000, 5,000 square foot homes. You're just having this 300 to 500, 600 square foot home. So, you'll greatly reduce your carbon footprint. Also, I think, you're downsizing your stuff. I think that, a lot of us, especially if we're digital nomads or we like to travel, it really helps you decide what is important to you. So maybe you don't need 35 pairs of shoes to go on vacation with you. You can just really take what's important. Also, utility bills. Rachel's mentioned a lot about, being, environmentally friendly. And, not only do we like to do a lot with, green energy and stuff like that, but also, like I said, you're not, having AC for these massive homes for a second living room that you never use, except for maybe some formal events. So, you really get to lower your utility bills, which is a nice thing as an owner. And then lastly, which I think is probably the most important, is that you have flexibility in your lifestyle. So, maybe instead of having a vacation home where you visit once a year, you could maybe have a couple smaller tiny homes that gives you the ability to spend a couple months in Panama, a couple months, on a Caribbean island in Belize. So, it gives you that flexibility. And, if you're a younger person like myself and you're looking for a place to call home, a lot of these homes, you have to take out a mortgage, which, you just are indebted for, 25, 30 years of your life. So with a tiny home, the cost is a lot less. So, you're not, your whole life working to pay off a mortgage. So I think that really gives you that flexibility in multiple ways, which is really, really a nice aspect.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. And I think that you really hit the nail on the head there about why tiny homes are so popular. And, some people call it a fad or a trend, but I really see it as this lifestyle and being able to downsize all of your stuff. I mean, I don't know about you, but I live in Belize. I have my condo there in Belize. It's considered, I guess, to be a tiny home. It's about 500 square feet. And then in my parents' house, I have like the basement full of my stuff. I guess that's really my storage facilities at my parents' house. But, a lot of times, how often do you go through that sort of stuff? Do you really need all of those items? And a lot of people who are looking to simplify or just make life easier, I mean, let's just get rid of all of that and really live with what we need. And so when we were looking at the tiny home concept here for Freedom Village, what we really were looking for, and you'll see some of the initial concepts, these are just pictures and not what our homes look like, but concepts. And what we wanted to bring into the homes was integrating, wood. We'll be using teak in the tiny homes. As many of you know, we have the teak farms there on the other side of the country. In addition to that, living within the environment. And because of the location of these homes, and a handful of them are right there on a bit of a slope. So you do have that sort of treehouse effect where you're looking into the canopy, looking down at the river. It really is spectacular. But, something I did want to mention as well is, when we talk tiny homes, we're talking 300 to 600 square feet. So it is a small space. And every nook and cranny is best utilized as best as possible to make sure that we're not wasting space. And so we've gone through a handful of renditions with the architect to really make sure that we're capturing as much of the space as possible. But in addition to that, I'm going to go back a couple of slides. As we were looking at the site map and really trying to identify what we wanted to incorporate into the community here, it was those third spaces. So while you may not necessarily have, thousands of square foot of living space, you do have all these areas that you're able to enjoy. You have the yoga platform, you have the pool, you have the lake, you have the river there, you go to the orchard, you go to the artisan market. There's a lot there where you're able to utilize your time outside. And in communities like this, and especially in Latin America, a lot of times we spend our time outside. I'm, like I mentioned, from New York during the winter season, we would be bears, we would hibernate, we wouldn't leave the house because it was so cold or it was snowing or no one wanted to shovel the cars out of the driveway. But in areas where you have this tropical sort of environment, people are spending a lot of time outside. So that's why it was critical for us as we were going through the map and really highlighting what we wanted to incorporate is having those third spaces for the owners to come together. Like, so for example, number 18, this area that you see, I know you can see my cursor, but here it is. I'm going to start it here by the north, the compass, and we go down. Number 18, this is the tiny home area over here. And you can see number 19, it's another palapa. It's a space for people within the community to come together. In addition to that, there are hiking trails around the community. The river is right there. So it gives you that sort of environment, that sort of space that you're probably looking for when you have a tiny home. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the tiny homes specifically. One point that I do want to mention is that this is still sort of preliminary. It's the soft launch. We will have an official launch of the homes, but everything is totally finalized. But because there has been so much interest in Panama in tiny homes, we wanted to at least keep you updated on what we're working on behind the scenes. So there may be some difference in numbers, for example. If we send you the site map, numbers may shift a little bit, or sizes, exact square footages of the home may change a little bit. HOA numbers are still being worked on, but this at least gives you the opportunity to look at the information first and then decide if it's something that makes sense to you. And if it is, you can decide to become an owner with us. If not, hey, at least you took a look at that information before we did a big mass marketing for it. So what's really unique about the tiny homes here at Freedom Village is that they are eco-friendly. So it is going to be a hybrid sort of model where you will have solar, but you'll also be connected to the grid. So during the day, you'll be utilizing the energy from the solar. At night, you'll be connecting up to the grid. So you'll have your AC, you'll have your great internet. I know a lot of times, especially as people are still working, we have this digital nomad culture. You need to be able to flip open your computer and work. Or some people I know are able to work from their phones, but as long as you have that sort of ability to do so, then hey, the world really is your oyster. And we've seen with COVID and everything over the past 6-7 months that a lot of people are able to do their job from their computer and from their phone. And so being able to offer them an environment like this where they're able to do it, enjoy themselves, enjoy the scenery, then it really adds a lot to your quality of life. But talking more about the tiny home specifically, so it is a river. There are a handful, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. These are riverfront homes. Now there is a camp. I'm going to show you the topography in a second so you get a little bit of a better understanding of it. But these are at the top of a hill, and then there's a slope that goes down, and then you end up at the river. So you do have that canopy in between you, your home, and the river. So it kind of gives it that feeling like you're in a tree house, which I think is really quite unique. And then there are the hiking trails between here as well. There's access to get down to the river, so you're able to be there as well. But integrated into the tiny homes will be teak features. And this is something that we're really excited about because we do have our teak farms on the eastern side of the country. And so being able to use the thinnings and the final boards, integrating them into the homes, and then these clients having really beautiful homes. And teak, I could do a whole presentation on teak, which I'll spare you all, but teak is a really amazing hardwood. It's known for its durability. It's really, really nice hardwood that lasts for a really long time. So being able to integrate it into the homes is really something unique, and really you have that local flair, which is pretty cool as well. If you're into the smart features, you're able to add those. You're able to turn the lights on from your phone, turn off the AC from your phone. If you don't want the smart features, you do not need those integrated, but do know that it is an option as well. And then we have three different models for you to consider, just depending on where it is you decide within the tiny home village that you would like to own. So I apologize, the numbers are a little wonky. We're most likely going to renumber the numbers here just so it's a little bit easier to follow, but 1 through 16. So the yellow numbers that you see here on the screen are homes that are lots, home sites that have the ability to have these larger tiny homes. It's kind of an oxymoron, larger tiny homes, but they're about 650 square feet plus outdoor space. You have about 1,000 square feet of living space within these home sites that are yellow. Within 17 to 24, so within the green numbers that you see there, these have a smaller footprint. If you've been following Ava, then you may be familiar with the Laura model. So we're going to be adopting the Laura model, and it's going to become the Orchid model. And as you can see, these are all flower names. Boquete is known as a flower region. So we are integrating that into the names of these tiny homes here. But let's quickly take a look at it. But let's talk about the topography first. So there's a lot of information here, and some of you may not really care about the topography, but what I wanted to do is just highlight the tiny home area over here. So you can see the lines are a little bit closer. Follow my cursor to the top center part of the screen. We're going to go down to the right. You can see in this area the topography where it's on that slope. The lines are closer together, so we have that slope. So these homes that we have right here, if you're following my cursor, are, like I said, that treehouse sort of effect where they're on, stilts, and you're able to look into the canopy, feeling like you're in a treehouse. So you don't have to climb up any stairs to get into it because your front door is at the height, but you're able to at least walk out onto the deck and really have those incredible sorts of views. So we have two models that are going to fit in home sites 1 through 16. The first one is the hibiscus model. And in total, it's about 1,019 square feet. That includes the indoor and the outdoor space. And as we were working with the architect on these models, what we really wanted to do was incorporate some of those wood features, the teak features. So you'll see that there are some areas that are highlighted with the teak louver, for example, integrating the teak into the homes. These are going to be really beautiful homes. This is still, I mentioned, it's a little premature. There are going to be some factors that are changed a little bit, but the general concept is there. So you're able to see the hibiscus model, about 1,000 square feet. And then you can see here on the right-hand side, the floor plan for it, where there is a tremendous amount of outdoor space. You have the patio. We'll start at the top here. You have the patio, which is 363 square feet. And then the terrace, which, I think I might have done a little backwards. Oh, no, we're good. So you have the terrace there, which you have that space as well. Then in addition to that, we have the heliconia model. And so this home is really quite unique as well, because you do have a tremendous amount of space. Sorry, I think I did mess up the decking there, but we'll get you the right information, promise to get that over to you. We're still working through some of the details here. But here with this model, you do have that larger patio space on the second floor. And this is really, I think, helpful for people who do want to have that outdoor living consideration. In addition to that, there's the green roof, which I think a lot of us who are into environmental factors are very excited to see integrated. But we also have that teak integration here as well. And it might be a little bit hard to see it, but you can see right here the teak tongue and grooving siding. So being able to integrate that in was something that was important to us. And these homes, this size is a little bit larger, but we can certainly get you those details. So these homes are estimated to start at about $149,000 plus the closing costs and furniture. Now, the other model that I would like to share with you is the orchid model. So this, if you're following us in AVA, the tiny homes in Nicaragua, this is the Laura model there. We've adopted it for the orchid model. There are going to be modifications that we have to this model. It's going to have more of a wood siding so that it lines up nicely with the other homes as well. But the Laura model is one of our more popular models in Nicaragua, so we decided to adopt it to our Freedom Village community as well. But you can see integrating the solar is something that's important for these homes, being eco-friendly, as Joe mentioned, reducing your carbon footprint. I mean, wouldn't it be really, really nice to have a low electricity bill? I mean, I don't know about you, but when you come down to these parts of Latin America, electricity is typically one of the highest expense that we have. So being able to integrate solar, having it be less expensive, I think is great for all of our wallets, and something that many of us appreciate as well. So the orchid model, home sites number 17 through 24. And this is the model that's I'm gonna go back to the site map here for a second. That would be 17 through 24. So the green area over here, that is allocated specifically for the orchid or the Laura model. And then 1 through 16 would be the heliconia or hibiscus, so they're larger in square footage. Again, we'll get you those details if you would like to see them, but just understand that this is a preliminary. There will be modifications to the home, so don't fall in love with the specific location of the teak louver. It may change, but just do understand that this is really helpful. These are helpful details for you as you're going through the initial concepts. So how this process works. So if you are interested in Boquete, interested in Freedom Village, living in a tiny home or renting out a tiny home, this is how the process of first right of selection looks. So our ECI shareholders, you know that you have first right of refusal in the properties. And with the first right of refusal, you have the next 7 days to decide if one of these home sites is right for you. If so, you can put down a $999 refundable deposit. And then come October 7th, we are going to be doing the rest of the soft launch for everybody who's not a shareholder. So then you'll get a copy of the site map. You'll be able to take a look through that, decide which location you are specifically interested in. And then from there, same sort of process where you're putting down a $999 refundable deposit. And this is for the first right of selection. So you are able to look through the information before we really have this hard official launch of Freedom Village. And again, I know some of the information is a little premature, like we do not have the HOA numbers yet. There are just some other details where we're working out the finals of everything, really. But we have a lot of the preliminary details, which will be helpful for you in making that sort of decision. If you are looking for the details and once they're finally ready for you and you say, I'm not ready to move forward, or I don't think I'm going to move forward, we'll refund you the deposit back, and then we'll continue on. So you have that opportunity. We do like to thank the people who are forward thinkers, who have been following us for a while. As Mike mentioned, ECI has been around for over 20 years at this point. It all is because of you all. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to look at the information first. So final paperwork and documents will be ready by the end of this year, early Q1 of 2021. It may be a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit sooner, but that's just the general overview of when we anticipate having the final. The site map is pretty finished, but just really working out the details with the floor plans and be able to present those to you. Now, a couple of helpful considerations. Joe, why don't you jump in here and talk about these considerations that are good for people to understand and know about the ECI properties?
Of course. So, a few of you, I talked back at one of the conferences, we do accept cryptocurrencies. So, if you're someone who's, got into cryptocurrencies way back in the day when they were a couple cents and you're looking to diversify, maybe take a little crypto off and get it into some hard assets like real estate here in Panama, let us know. We'd be happy to work with you with that. Also, we offer financing. So, if that's something that you're interested in, let us know and we can work with you on that as well. And then lastly, we just offer a turnkey home and the residency solution. So if you're interested in potentially relocating, making an investment into a property, you can also get residency. So I think that's kind of a nice 2-for-1. So not only are you getting a property, but you're also getting a residency, which is a nice thing to have in your back pocket. So, those are some things that you should consider.
Yep, absolutely. And so we are, we'll have the financing details for you over the next few months, I would say the next couple of months, but do bear in mind that typically we are able to offer up to 80% financing. So bear that in mind too with the Freedom Village tiny homes. And as Joe mentioned, if you are considering residency, the Friendly Nations visa, you can pair that up with the ownership of a home at Freedom Village or with Teak. A lot of possibilities for you there. So as a way to say thank you, this is your special gift. We're going to offer you the Panama Handbook. This is a comprehensive guide for you to review if you are considering ownership of property in Panama. Just email us info@ecidevelopment.com and we'll get the details to you. And the other one that I don't have a slide for, but I do want to mention, especially because there are a lot of names on here that I know are looking for property outside of the country for the first time. It's going to be the Global Property Resource Kit. And the Global Property Resource Kit, it is a white paper that is perfect for you to review if you're looking at property overseas, even if it's not the first time. But within this document, you'll find the 15 must-ask questions when looking at real estate overseas. I mean, questions as silly as, is a plumb for hot water? They sound silly, but it's definitely something that you need to ask when you're looking at property in another country. It's not always a standard. So having that sort of information at your fingertips is important, and we're happy to email that to you. Just let us know, info@ecidevelopment.com, and then we'll email you. Just put property kit or kit in the subject line, and we'll get those details to you. So here's a quick recap of the first right of selection. Right now we have the tiny homes that we're doing the first right of selection for. Shareholders get a week. And then after that, we'll be able to go out to the folks who are not shareholders to see what your interests are. And, this is really a great way for us also to understand the demand, understand what people are looking for. If it goes well, then maybe we'll have future tiny home sites at Freedom Village. And, we'll also be integrating the condos in for first right of selection, and then the single family home lots. So as long as you're interested in Panama, Freedom Village, you took a look at the pictures, you like the concept, you like the location, let us know and we'll make sure that you are receiving those specific details. I'm just looking at the clock here. I apologize. I realize we've gone a little over the hour, but what we'll do, I see that Ivan has been answering the question. So thank you, Ivan, for that. And I'm going to just answer some of the other questions that have come up over the course of the last hour. And if there's anything that you want to know that wasn't asked or anything that comes to mind later, let us know. Just email us at info@ecidevelopment.com and we'll get those answered for you. So the first question here is how to get from Freedom Village to David and Boquete. So you're able to there's a road that goes from these two cities to the property. Takes about 35-40 minutes from each. So there's David, Freedom Village, and then Boquete. It's about 45 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes to get from one, and then 30 to 40 minutes to get to the other. But typically, Emily, what folks do is they'll rent a car when they're out there. So that would be my best suggestion. Otherwise, we will be able to coordinate pickup as we have the hotel operating there. But otherwise, I'd say car is probably the best bet. You're able to get a rental car directly at the David airport. Within David as well as the city, there are tons of rental companies that you're able to rent from. So another question I see is any prospects of the job market in this area? I know it's a lovely area. What I would recommend, and Emily, I know you are a digital nomad at this point, or you're able to do a lot of what you're doing from your computer, but that would be my best suggestion. And really for anybody who's looking at a job in another country, especially within Latin America, I mean, the pay for maybe what you're doing in North America or in your home country is probably going to be considerably higher than what the pay is within Latin America. So what I would recommend, if there's a way for you to digitize your business, to do so. I know we have been chatting with a handful of business consultants who their job is to help people digitize their business and then operate online so that you are able to sit there on your deck and watch as the stream is rolling by and you get your job done and really do it from wherever you want to do it. So if you are interested in learning more, we're going to have a webinar on that specifically. Just reach out to us. We'll make sure that you're on the list to receive that information. But that would be my best suggestion, really for anybody who's looking at working in another country. It's a little bit trickier to get work permits. It's also you're not going to have that same sort of salary expectation that you have in your home country. So just bear that in mind. All right, so I'm seeing, this is a great question from Lai, and she said, how is the travel situation now in Panama? So thank you for bringing this up. As of October 12th, the borders will reopen, so you will be able to visit. I know there are a handful of you on the line who are looking to start your residency as well. What I would recommend, get your paperwork off to the attorney, and then you're able to come down. So Lai, if you're planning on coming down to Panama at some point, do let us know, but the borders are reopening for tourism on October 12th it is. Anonymous attendee said, do you have an exact time to Boquete? We did it, and I'm thinking it was about 35 minutes. I think it depends on your driver and if there's anyone driving in front of you, but 35 minutes was about what it took for us to get from one location to the other. But yeah, it's a smooth road, so you don't need to do any off-roading or anything along those lines. Leslie, this is a great question. Is financing based on a U.S. credit rating? No, so we work with a bank in Belize. It's Key Bank, C-A-Y-E. They do not look at your credit rating, but there are some documents that they are going to require from you, such as your previous tax returns, a list of your assets, a list of your liabilities, so just that they understand, but they do not look at your U.S. credit rating because it is a Belize bank. All right, so I'm seeing a lot more questions come in. What we'll do is get those answered for you via email. I'm going to see this other one here from Ken that I just want to answer quickly. Is it only tiny homes on offer now, not the condos? At this point, it is just the tiny homes. There's still, we still are about 3 to 4 months away from officially launching the project, but at least wanted to get you the information that we're working on step by step. But the condos we will be expecting to launch later on this year, and the single family home lots as well. So with that being said, I appreciate, just looking at the clock here, I appreciate everybody staying on an additional about 15 minutes later. We'll get those details over to you. And again, just email us if you'd like more information. It's our way to say thank you. Thank you for following us. Thank you for being as excited as we are about this project. And we hope you decide to become an owner with us. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and have a really great evening. Bye-bye.